Alright, we've got 3 new exotics in episode Heresy, each funnier looking than the last, and even though they aren't yet able to achieve their final form, so to speak, we're going to do an initial review of these exotics today. My goal is to boil them all down to just one sentence each, basically a TLDR for each exotic. Here, why don't we try an example with a Wendy's Baconator instead of an exotic. TLDR, tastes awesome if you enjoy meat and convenient to eat because no cooking and easy to transport, hashtag not an ad. See, couldn't be easier. Now let's do it with new exotics. Starting with Finality's Auger, the new dungeon exotic. It's a linear fusion rifle of the solar persuasion, and it's hella unique. You can fire it like a normal linear fusion rifle if you want, but the fun way to use it is to hold down the reload button and activate its alternate fire mode, which should bring up text on your HUD that says Create Turret Mode. Then go ahead and fire it up into the air to create a Ruinscribed turret, which will then proceed to target and shoot single-shot solar damage at any enemy in the nearby area. While your turret is alive and you're still using the gun in alternate fire mode, you can hold down the shoot button again to paint a nearby enemy and select it as a priority target for your turret to attack. Real quick number time. Your turret will remain on the battlefield for around 25 seconds, give or take, which is actually way more generous than I was expecting. The damage dealt by your turret is around 13,341 per shot, and in priority target mode, your turret can hit a target with up to 6 damage ticks in one shot, maxing out at 5,070 per tick, for a grand total of 30,420, meaning in theory the priority target shot can be up to 128% stronger than standard turret fire mode. Realistically though, during priority target mode, your poor turret, despite its best efforts, might not hit the painted target perfectly with every shot. You might get 5 damage ticks instead of 6 if your target is moving around a lot, or maybe the damage ticks aren't hitting for max damage. That usually means your turret hit partially with one of the damage ticks. It's not likely you'll perfectly nail a priority target with every tick every time for max damage. And if you're wondering, yeah, you can do the following combo with Finality's Auger. Step 1, launch a turret. Step 2, paint a target. Step 3, change to regular linear fire mode and light that target up through regular linear shooting while it also gets burned down by your turret. Using that method, my friend and I were actually able to burn down the Auger boss in Grasp of Avarice dungeon in one phase, just the two of us. Now granted, that's not actually a gigantic accomplishment, and there was a solar surge at the time of us recording that footage, meaning Finality was doing more damage than it normally would, and also we had a Titan rally barricade on the field in combination with the new Titan aspect, Storm's Keep, which if you don't play Titan and have no idea what that is, in short, you're basically going to smack a target a lot more frequently with bolt charge lightning strikes because you can activate them with weapon damage instead of ability damage. And on that note, real quick, let's talk about Storm's Keep in combination with Finality's Auger. So yeah, to repeat, when you're behind a Titan barricade with Storm's Keep, you naturally gain stacks of bolt charge over time, but if you deal weapon damage, you gain stacks faster. Apparently, Finality's turret fire contributes to this, and when you're in paint the target mode, you get stacks of bolt charge really fast. To give you an idea of what that looks like, we decided to run back the Auger in the GOA dungeon with a fire team of 3 with the following game plan. Drop a well to stay alive, drop a rally barricade to get bolt charge, fire 1 Finality turret up in the air each, paint the target, and that's it. Just sit back and let our turret buddies do the work with free bolt charge on top. Using that method, we did about 95% of the Auger's health bar in one phase, and again, remember, solar surge, but still not bad. Considering it only cost 3 ammo to generate 1 turret and we didn't do any other weapon damage during that entire time, you're getting a lot of mileage out of that 3 ammo, especially when in combination with Storm's Keep, which for the record is kind of insane. There are other things about Finality's Auger you should know too. Thing number 1 is that it does in fact work with particle reconstruction on your artifact, meaning that if your turret starts lighting up a target and you have particle recon turned on, yeah, that target is going to get weakened, which is awesome. Also, if you get a damage buff, so does your Finality turret. AKA if I become radiant, then bam, damage buff for the turret as well. You'll love to see it. I've heard some people saying that Finalities can't stun unstoppable champions in combination with the unstoppable fusion artifact mod. And with my hardest possible, actually, believe it or not, it can. It's weird though, in order to get your turret to stun a champion, you have to first ADS your Finality until it shimmers, like how you would normally stun an unstoppable champion, and then fire your turret after the weapon shimmers. If you did all that, then there you go, the turret will fire and the champion will get stunned. I don't think Finality was intended to be used in PvP, but I did bring it into Gambit for some hilarious results. It's basically a meme, but a relatively effective one if used in the right scenario. In short though, here's my one-sentence summary of Finality's Auger at the moment. TLDR, fun PvE weapon with respectable damage / crowd control for the cost of only a little bit of ammo. But if you want top tier linear damage, just use Queenbreaker. But yeah, value, because again, creating a turret is only 3 ammo and it lasts for 25 seconds. Is it kind of a meme to use an exotic heavy on ad clear? Yeah, maybe. But again, depending on the encounter and your fire team's loadout and what aspects you have, you can also use it to both debuff a boss and also spam it with repeated bolt charge abuse, which I strongly recommend you try for the fun factor. Reminder that Finality will eventually get an exotic catalyst in the near future, and if you don't want to know what it is just yet, skip ahead in the video. Okay, gonna just wait a few seconds if people want to pause and skip ahead. Okay, that should be enough time. According to light.gg, the exotic catalyst is gonna be bait and switch, which, yeah, I'm on board. My hope is that your turret will be able to keep that damage buff from bait and switch without me needing to have my Finality out. AKA, I shoot a target with elemental and kinetic damage and my turret on its own finishes activating and keeping up bait and switch for itself. I don't think I'll be lucky enough for that to be the case, but more on that when the catalyst eventually comes out. 1 down, 2 to go. Let's talk about Lodestar real quick, D2's first ever primary ammo trace rifle. When you fire the weapon via hip fire, it's basically a regular arc trace rifle, but when you ADS, it behaves more like a pulse rifle, which is kind of funky. The more arc damage you deal from any source, including this gun, and you charge the meter on your HUD, and you can hold down the reload button, and then for a short time, when you hip fire, you apply jolt to any target you damage for a short time. This pairs nicely with Phase Converter, where if you ADS shoot any enemy who is affected by an arc debuff, you hit them harder and also they detonate into a blinding explosion on a final blow. In PvE, this is a fun primary to play around with, as it's basically free jolt on demand. However, at the time of me writing this, Lodestar has been shining a bit brighter in PvP. This is almost entirely due to its pairing alongside the recently reworked exotic leg armor, Radiant Dance Machines, which if you didn't know, now give a constant buff to your hip fire mobility, range, and accuracy for weapons that use primary ammo. In short, put RDMs on your hunter and hip fire beam more accurately than you ever have before. There's a pretty fun clip I saw of my good friend Frabo in PvP beaming the life out of people with this combination. I thought to myself, wow, that looks really strong, but then again, Frabo could hit Ascendant rank in comp with a stale loaf of bread. So with that in mind, I tried it out for myself, and yeah, pretty effective. If you're not too far away from your enemy and have decent hipfire aim, you're gonna beam them into next week. Radiant Dance Machines are actually so good right now that Bungie has issued kind of an emergency retuning to them, which should be happening today, February 13th, just in time for new trials, which comes out over the weekend. However, the nerf to RDMs is only for when it's paired together with Dead Man's Tale and The Last Word, not Lodestar. Basically what I'm saying is that the debut of new trials this weekend might be interesting. Oh, also there is a Lodestar catalyst coming, but I don't believe we're getting that until Act 2 of Heresy. Anyway, here's your 1-sentence summary for Lodestar as of right now. TLDR, fun, on-demand jolt in PvE, works with a lot of builds, and a hip-firing menace for RDM hunters in PvP. Finally, let's talk about the Barrow-Dyad exotic SMG, which we only just got access to this week. The Barrow-Dyad is a strand primary SMG with 22 impact and 720 RPM, essentially making it an aggressive frame under the hood. When dealing damage with this weapon, you generate Blight. Anytime you reload your weapon manually, you convert stored Blight into Blight Seekers, which will be released the next time you fire. You can fire up to a max of 6 Seekers, and if we're using Carl as our usual damage tester, Blight Seekers are 487% stronger than regular body shots. Damn. The Barrow-Dyad will also regen ammo over time when you're not firing the gun, which sounds awesome, but it's a double-edged sword, because when that is happening, it means your Blight meter is also going down. In PvP, this is an interesting weapon so far, but it very much feels like a blank slate, because I mean, it is. Whereas Finality and Lodestar are just missing their exotic catalyst, Barrow-Dyad is missing both its craftable catalyst slot, which is your choice of high impact rounds, hatchling, one for all, or target lock. And as we get deeper into Heresy, data mining suggests that the taken Divergence exotic weapon trait will also drastically change in behavior depending on factors that we don't quite know yet. If you don't want to know what the upgraded version of the exotic perk does until it drops in game, skip ahead a little bit. Gonna wait just a little bit. Okay, that is enough time. Yeah, apparently the blight rounds are gonna get upgraded to dig into enemies and explode the way that Malfeasance works. Not gonna lie, that sounds really fun. In short, I've heard some folks commenting on how they're disappointed with the Barrow-Dyad so far, and yeah, I get that. It's very unfinished right now. But that's kind of like being disappointed in the wild Dratini you just caught in Pokemon because you were expecting a sick dragon. Don't get me wrong, I get it, but for right now, all we can do is wait for that puppy to evolve into a Dragonite, which it will in time. And yeah, it can, at the moment, pair very well with some stuff on the artifact. But I'd wager that more strand weapons at the moment, including Osteostriga, which is also an SMG, can take advantage of those perks way harder. Oh, and in PvP, the Barrow-Dyad right now is fine, but nothing to be blown away by. The blight rounds are actually kind of weak. See right here, even with 6 and the fact that they pierce through targets, so I'm hitting both guardians at the same time. Pretty minimal damage, honestly, which I think is for the best, considering how it's borderline impossible to miss with the blight rounds. All right, one sentence on the Barrow-Dyad. TLDR, an okay SMG right now that will get noticeably stronger and better in time, but I wouldn't beat yourself up about getting it right this second if you don't have it already. Let me know your thoughts on the new exotics down below. Can't wait to hear from you. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.